On January 6th, we will be marking the beginning of our concert season with a concert celebrating John Philip Sousa. This is one of our more recent traditions, but it's really become an audience favorite, and we really enjoy it as well. Each time we do this, we try to find a new aspect of Sousa's career to celebrate. Of course, everyone knows him as the March King for very justifiable and understandable reasons, but Sousa was so much more than that. He composed concert suites, operettas, songs, waltzes, all sorts of novelty numbers that were really part of the repertoire of the Sousa Band. And even perhaps more importantly, he was a consummate showman. He really redefined what a concert band experience was like in the early part of the 20th century. And that's one of the things we try to celebrate with these concerts as well. He was our 17th director, and he led the Marine Band from 1880 to 1892. But his relationship to the Marine Band extends far beyond those years as director, because his father Antonio was a trombone player in the Marine Band. And in fact, it was his father Antonio who enlisted John Philip Sousa as a young apprentice musician. So John Philip Sousa's experiences with the Marine Band, he grew up in the Marine Band. These men were largely like, adopted uncles to him in many ways. So when he came back in 1880 at the young age of 25 to become director, even though he was quite young, he was a very experienced Marine bandsman. And so he led with authority right from the very beginning. And he transformed the Marine Band. He is the reason that the Marine Band became a household name. And much the way that the Vienna Philharmonic begins its concert season each year with a New Year's program devoted to the music of Johann Strauss, who was considered the Waltz King, we thought, well, why not devote our concert to the March King? So we always begin our concert season in January every year with this concert celebrating John Philip Sousa. He is called the March King because of the wonderful marches that he created first as director of the Marine Band. We're really quite proud of the fact that he earned that title while he was still director of the Marine Band. Even though he took over as a young man, 25 years of age, and only led the band for 12 years, he wrote marches during that time that really earned him a national reputation and eventually an international reputation. One of his marches, the Washington Post, actually became a dance craze in Europe. And so there were many Europeans who learned of John Philip Sousa while America was still getting to know his name. John Philip Sousa was aware that Johann Strauss was called the Waltz King, and he was aware of other nicknames that really helped to promote composers and their music. And so when someone dubbed him the March King, I don't think he really minded too much. We always try to make sure there's a good cross-section of John Philip Sousa's music on these programs, not just his marches, but his other original selections and also his arrangements. He arranged much of the most successful orchestral music and operatic music of his day because he knew this was the only way his audiences were going to hear this great music. American audiences out in the remote regions of this country would have very little chance of hearing the great orchestral and operatic selections performed by a live ensemble unless it was performed by touring bands such as the Sousa Band. And he really had great taste in choosing selections and arranging those selections. So we try to make sure that some of those selections are on our concerts as well. His overture to the Merry Wives of Windsor by Otto Nicolai was a classic example of that. That was an overture that he arranged for his very first concert tour with his civilian band that he formed after leaving the Marine Band. And it was an overture that he performed dozens of times over the next 30 years. I should say dozens of tours over the next 30 years. So it was clearly a favorite of his. So we try to make sure some of those are included as well. So the concert really promises to be a lot of fun. We always enjoy playing the music of Sousa, and we look forward to doing that once again at the beginning of our concert series in 2013.